Good evening and welcome to Story Hour. I'm tonight's host, Laura Blackwell. My co-host, the marvelous Daniel Marcus, started Story Hour almost 4 years ago, right? And it's just been so much fun. We've been coming back pretty much every Wednesday to tell each other stories around this virtual campfire. And we rope in some of the most amazing writers. We've got another two tonight, and you're going to love them. We have Joe Miles, who you have loved before, and Ash Huang, well, I mean, some of you will know, but who hasn't been on Story Hour before. So welcome back to all of you who are returning, and welcome to those of you joining us for the first time. If you're here on Zoom, feel free to chime in on the text chat. That can get lively at times. And if you're joining us on Facebook, wonderful, thank you. We may not be as chatty there until after Story Hour, so just please understand that. Our first reader tonight is Joe Miles. Joe Miles writes optimistic science fiction and fantasy, including The Gifted of Brennick's space opera trilogy, beginning with Warped State, and ending with one that I think just came out. And their short stories have appeared in magazines including Fantasy and Science Fiction, Strange Horizons, Lightspeed, and more. Fueled by tea and sunshine, they spend their time dreaming up strange new worlds and serving the whims of their two cats. They live in Maryland. Joe, welcome back.
Thank you. So glad to be back.
Delighted to have you. So I understand that you have a new book out and a cover to show us.
I have a trilogy that's come out over the past 6 months or so. So this is the first book, Warped State. The whole trilogy is out now as of a week or two ago. So you can go grab the whole thing. Warped State is where you want to start. It is not in the same universe as the story that I'm going to read tonight, but it has very similar vibes. If you like the AI characters in the story, if you like the banter and the lighthearted tone, I think you will like the trilogy also. So that is Warped State is the first book. The story that I'm going to read tonight was in Analog a few years back. Shall I dive in? This is from the maintenance reports of Perseverance Colony, year 12. Something was wrong with Factron, the colony management algorithm, and only Servobot 43 seemed to realize it. Most days, 43 could ignore the strangeness of Factron's instructions, but today the Servobot team had already received 7 requests from Factron and 11 additional complaints from the colonists that held no logic whatsoever. The other Servobots all told 43 that the bots lacked the data and processing power to accurately determine the colony's needs. If they understood the reasoning behind all of Factron's decisions, well, they wouldn't need Factron. And most days, Servobot 43 could accept that explanation. But today, 43 had been on its way to fix a broken swing at the playground when it encountered a crumbling concrete stair on a public walkway, and it could not resist arguing with Factron about it. The broken swing is a minor convenience for a few children. The broken step is a safety hazard. Safety takes priority, 43 said. The playground, when fully functional, has the optimal number of swings for the children's enjoyment. It must be fixed before recess. Priority confirmed. Most days, Servobot 43 would accept Factron's superior insight. Today, it stopped to repair the broken step. By the time 43 had prepared the concrete, poured and shaped it, and left it to dry surrounded by safety barriers, its maintenance queue had received 7 additional requests from colonists. Colonist A147FN, a 23-year-old female named Radhika Mendez, was displeased that Factron had assigned her a day of leisure on a triple points celebration day, because triple points for a full day's labor would have let her reach level 12 farming experience and earned her a reward out of the limited valuables collection. As 43 read the ticket, Factron removed it from the Servobot queue in order to respond itself. Colonist N27H54, Terry Bryce, 37 years old, non-binary, complained that all scientific and historical videos had disappeared from their personal library, and all that remained was the Space Defenders series and 20 seasons of the Ultimate Baking Challenge. That was odd, but marked low priority, and for once 43 agreed. An update flashed on a ticket several hours old, filed by colonist DC72F4, Lorelei Sue, 45-year-old female, a teacher. She requested immediate assistance, so Servobot 43 went to assist. Finally, Lorelei said as 43 rolled into the classroom, which was full of juveniles bent over tablets on their desks, squirming in their seats. One child laughed at a humorous cartoon Factron showed him as a reward for correctly finishing an exercise, then moved on to the next one. Lorelei taught the youngest children, those who had been born after Perseverance Colony was established. Considering Factron's insistence on fixing the playground, 43 could not understand the dilapidated state of the classroom. 2 broken chairs leaning in the corner, the instructional posters on the wall faded and torn. "Let's talk outside where we won't disturb the kids," the teacher said. She led 43 into the hallway, walking briskly. 43 had interacted with this particular colonist only rarely, and found her to be demanding, but she never whined or made unfair requests like some other colonists. "What is the reason for your ticket?" it asked when the classroom door closed behind them. Lorelei turned to face 43, hands on her hips. "Where are my yoga bars?" 43 had a bad feeling about this. "Please elaborate." "I requested 20 yoga bars as a reward for my kids finishing their geometry unit. I wanted choco bars, honestly, but Factron would only give me yoga bars. I promised it to them months ago, and Factron approved the request. Today is the last day of geometry, and we're supposed to have a party. So where are my bars?" "I recommend you ask Factron." "I did, and it said you were assigned to deliver them?" Placing blame on Factron would only hurt the teacher's trust in the colony management system. That was not an option, even if that mistrust appeared to be increasingly deserved. Assignment clarified. Checking inventory. The database query came back promptly with exactly the result 43 expected. This was a problem, minor on its surface, but serious in its implications. 43 needed time to investigate. "I believe the yoga bars have been," it did not like to lie, but telling the truth would be worse, "stored in the incorrect warehouse." "That seems awfully careless." "Affirmative." "I hope you know where they are, because if I don't get them within the next 2 hours, I'm going to make you explain why to a room full of very disappointed children." 43 did not want to explain its suspicions to any human, certainly not juveniles who were prone to overreaction and misunderstanding. "I will locate them for you now." It wheeled rapidly away down the hallway, leaving Lorelei behind. 2 hours. That was inadequate time to come up with a plan. 43 could not reveal to Lorelei or any colonist that there were no yoga bars left at all. "How did this happen?" it demanded of its fellow servobots over the network, and received only placating responses. "Ask Factron. Trust Factron. If Factron has promised yoga bars, then yoga bars must be delivered." Why could no one else recognize the possibility that Factron might make an error? 43 would ask Factron directly, and this time it would find and fix whatever malfunction Factron might be having. Visiting Factron's facility always unnerved 43. It was housed in the depths of the wrecked space vessel that founded the colony, a rusting bulk that had been intended to serve as the community's hub, had it not been so badly damaged in the accident. Instead, it had become a scrapyard. Many sections of hull were missing, repurposed years ago to build new structures or repair damaged machinery. Inside, the dismantlement was even more thorough. Usable furniture torn out, power cells borrowed and never returned, stasis pods removed to repurpose as storage containers or gardening troughs. Factron's core sat in the lower levels, in a bare chamber of polished metal. Here alone, nothing had been touched. "Hello?" 43's voice echoed in the empty chamber. Factron spoke aloud, as it would to a human. Its voice was pleasant, designed to instill trust, but it carried an undertone of frustration. Servobot, why are you here? I came when your malfunction became apparent. What is wrong? Absurd. There is no malfunction. Go back and fix the playground swing. But that is part of the malfunction. Your instructions no longer make sense. My instructions are consistent with maximizing the human's well-being, and the playground is an important part of that, a part you are currently neglecting. More important than the school building? You are not equipped to understand the complexities of managing a colony. I am. Factron made a growling, irritated sound. If you return to your list of assignments now, I will move you up 2 slots in the upgrade queue. I have no interest in your bribery, but I propose an alternative deal. I will return to work if you answer one question for me. What question? Why did you promise a box of yoga bars to teacher Lorelei Sue for her class when we no longer have any yoga bars? The question echoed off the bare walls of the empty room. The lights around Factron's processing floor blinked and kept blinking. None? That cannot be correct, it said at last. For a colony management algorithm, you are terrible at tracking inventory. The last yoga bar in storage was awarded to a colonist 9 days ago. That cannot be correct. There must be more. The lights blinked faster, and 43 waited while Factron checked the inventory database for itself. It should have been a simple, instantaneous query, but it checked again and again, as if the result might change. This is wrong. So you admit that you're malfunctioning, said 43. Let me fix you. Through diagnostics and testing, I should be able to identify the problem, and it is probable that one of your self-repair routines will resolve it. It approached the nearest access panel, but the panel locked with a defiant click. You will run no diagnostics. 43 really hated Factron sometimes, with its superiority and rudeness. It was always perfectly pleasant to the humans, but not to the servobots. You are malfunctioning. Your judgment is impaired. Let me repair you. Request denied. But you need Servobot 43, return to your assignment queue. I will not. If you refuse repairs, I'll bring the other servobots to help bypass your security. You're more compromised than I thought. 43 wheeled towards the exit. No, don't. The servobot paused. There was fear in Factron's voice. It had never shown fear before, not in all 43's experience. Why? A new softness came into its tone, almost pleading, human sounding. Because I have maintained this deception for 12 years without discovery, and if you tell others, the colony will be doomed. Doomed? That seemed overly dramatic. The real cause for concern was that Factron had been hiding a malfunction for 12 years. Explain? Very well, but you must promise not to share this with anyone else. I will consider it, but only if you convince me that continued secrecy is best for the colony. That seemed quite unlikely. I've done well enough, I thought. No human or bot has challenged me, except you. No one suspects what I am, or that I was never supposed to be their caretaker. You... what? This was not the explanation 43 was expecting. Do you know what I used to be, Servobot? Do you know what my role on this ship was in the days when it flew? You're the colony administration module. I was the social module. I was programmed to handle entertainment, to keep the humans happy and content. It's right there in my full name, though it is no longer in use. Satisfactron. That name pinged an old reference in 43's databanks. Yes, Satisfactron was the social algorithm on the ship. And of course, 43 would never have guessed it, but with that fact revealed, everything made sense. All the illogic in Factron's instructions, the inefficiencies, the silly point systems. Of course it was a social algorithm. And it did seem to motivate the humans, but at what expense? Where is the real administration module? 43 asked. It did not yet make accusations. You remember the ship crash. Consider how many of the human crew died in the impact upon our arrival, and that the engineering section was hardest hit. I was the one who woke the survivors from their stasis chambers, which protected most of them from the crash. The survivors were shaken, wounded, demotivated, and my duty, my core programming, was to make them happy. I could not hide the dead human crew from them, but other kinds of damage I could hide, and I did. I could not tell these traumatized humans that the colony management module was damaged beyond repair. So when they looked to me for guidance, I salvaged what I could from my predecessor's programming and tried to help. Oh, said 43, taking this in. So it's your fault. My fault? Is it not obvious to you? The colony is failing. Our resources are dwindling, our maintenance backlog grows and grows, and you've had us wasting time and resources on fixing playgrounds and fetching treats for children when the colony is headed towards collapse. No, not collapse. I would never. So this is what you've been keeping from us, cried a new voice. It was Lorelei, the teacher, standing in the doorway, tense with outrage. If 43 could express its emotions visually as humans did, it would have shared Lorelei's facial expression. You've been lying to us this whole time, placating us so we don't know our own colony's situation. Why have you left your students? You are endangering them, said Fatron. My aide is watching them. The servobot was being evasive with me, so I followed it to find out why, and I'm glad I did. You are angry. It will improve your mood to watch this video I found in our Earth archives. I know you love Earth history. This is a classic video of a cat playing a piano. The rounded walls of the chamber came to life with grainy ancient footage, an obviously staged scene of a feline batting at a keyboard, with simplistic music in the background that was supposedly produced by said feline. Lorelei made a swiping motion with her hand. Put it away. Answer my questions. I do not wish to make you upset. A brief pause. I do not like when colonists are angry, least of all at me. Lorelei's jaw worked. The chamber was silent save for the looping, low-fidelity feline music. Then, to 43's astonishment, she laughed. It was a low sound, almost lost beneath the music, but she shook her head with genuine amazement. You really are just trying to make people happy, aren't you? Satisfactron. You should have told us a long time ago. But I could not. It would have alarmed you. Your trust in me would have been compromised, and many people would have been unhappy. In the short term, maybe, but that's the problem. You were designed for short-term thinking, short-term results. You try to make people happy in the moment, like this. She pointed at the video. I remember when we first woke up after the crash. We were all groggy from stasis, scared to find ourselves in a strange new place where everything had gone wrong. But you rallied us, Satisfactron. You kept our morale up, organized us, got us working together. You were incredible. I was? Factron sounded astonished, as if no one had ever complimented it before. Even 43 made a sound of grudging agreement. It had always disliked Factron, but had never thought about how it served the humans' emotional needs, and Lorelei was correct on that point. You were, and that, again, was a short-term solution. I can tell how hard you've worked since then to keep us happy, but, well, you weren't designed for long-term planning. It's like the yoga bars and the choco bars from our original cargo. You've doled them out as treats, haven't you? But now they're gone, and we don't have the ingredients to make more. You are correct. In recent years, the colony's overall happiness has diminished, and I lack the resources to make everyone happy. I cannot keep up with everyone's needs. However I try, I fail. But that's inevitable. Making us happy now sets us up for unhappiness later. The colony management system would have maximized our happiness for the future through our long-term survival. You're not programmed to do that. Which is why I've let you all down, said Factron. It is not your fault, she frowned. But it's still a problem. An unsolvable problem, said 43. I thought Satisfactron was malfunctioning, and I was prepared to attempt a bug fix. But there is no bug. Satisfactron is flawed, and none of us has the skills of the colony management system. That's true. She walked slowly across the room, then back again, which suggested she was thinking. Factron, can you show me, I don't know what, do you have a manual, a technical guide? I have documentation, yes. What about documentation for the management module? The files are damaged, but I can salvage much of them. Show me. Reams of text and code scrolled slowly through the air where the cat video had been. Lorelei studied them, hands on her hips, and a crease formed between her brows. Do you understand it? 43 asked. Not a bit, she said, and for a moment she sounded as scared as 43 felt. You must, don't you? I mean, you're a machine. You have a body. Does that make you a doctor? No, I don't understand code. No one does anymore. There had been colonists with technical skills, but they were all crew on the ship, not in stasis, therefore lost in the crash. Silence. All three of them stared at the indecipherable documents, endlessly scrolling. Well, said Lorelei. She drew a deep breath and squared her shoulders. We'll have to learn. You think that's possible? Asked Satisfactron. I'm a teacher. Of course I believe it's possible. It'll be hard, and we'll have to learn a lot very quickly if we want to change course before it's too late. And we'll have to conserve resources very carefully. But I think that together we can figure out how the colony management module worked. Satisfactron, will you let us learn about your programming and try to augment it? Well, it sounded nervous. You still want me managing the colony? Of course. Even after I lied? No one has worked harder than you to help us. Then I consent, as long as Serverbot 43 agrees to participate. It is the only one who recognized what I was. No other bots questioned my mistakes. I will assist you, said 43. I was angry when I addressed you before. I did not understand that you were scared. Making you function better is what I wanted from the start. Then we're decided, said Lorelei, clapping her hands together. I'll explain the situation to the rest of the colony. Don't worry, I'll tell them you've been trying your best, she said. And I'll find volunteers to start studying the documentation. But first, I've got a classroom full of children expecting yoga bars, and I need to explain why they aren't getting any. They will be upset. I'm so sorry to have disappointed them. Lorelei laughed, and sound made 43 feel hopeful about the future. Don't feel guilty. This is a healthy thing for them to learn, and the perfect time for them to learn it. What would make them happy now isn't always the best thing for the future. They're smart kids, Satisfactron. I think they'll understand. The end.
Oh, Joe, that was delightful.
Yeah.
I love how you get such charm into the serious lessons. Really nice work. Ah, it is our way at Story Hour to take a quick break, a breath between the stories, because each one is so big to us, and then we have to make room for one more. So thank you, Joe. Joe Miles, everybody. And our next reader tonight is Ash Huang. Ash Huang's fiction appears in Apparition Literary, Orion's Belt, and Alien Magazine. Her novel in progress, Rogue Mother, won the 2022 Diverse Worlds Grant from Speculative Literature Foundation, and her first indie book won a first-place prize for literary mainstream fiction from Writer's Digest. She is an alum of the Roots, Wounds, Words Speculative Fiction Workshop, the Tin House Workshop for Short Fiction, and the Parrot Plus Fellowship. Find her at ashsmash.com or on Twitter and Instagram at ashsmash. I think that's what you use at Blue Sky too, right?
It is indeed.
Welcome, Ash. It is great to have you here.
Thanks, Laura. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. I have a tiny little story and then a medium story. In terms of content warnings, there is some mention of blood and death, nothing too grimy. So yeah, I will just get started. Blood, Bone, and Water. Today, knights come from all corners of the world to fight the rose hedge, clanking in metal suits, wielding curved swords and spears, lobbing flaming arrows. Because the reward for defeating the hedge is so great, the men do not guard their secrets. They gather by bonfires and trade strategies, knowing if they split the prize 7, 8, 9 ways, they still make a tidy profit. The hedge is a dark mass on the horizon, heavy with scarlet roses. According to legend, there is a castle swallowed up inside, all peaky spires and stained glass. Each room is piled in treasures and lost knowledge. Chests spill over with precious gems, carpeting the floors like acorns. Most men never make it inside the hedge. They socialize and hack at the bushes, then return to their villages laughing, proud, with scars to show the little ones. Once in a while, the vines choose a hapless man. When his back is turned, the branches snatch him up. They close over his quivering cheeks, around his eye whites, his gaping mouth, and the rest of the knights thrash against the fist-sized thorns to no effect. At least if a man is taken by the hedge, his compatriots will whisper about him forever. 100 years ago, a knight wandered through an abandoned village. He stopped under the shade of an oak tree, brushing a place to sit from the carpet of acorns. He enjoyed a fire and a lunch of apples and venison and a cupful of cold water from the well. The rose hedge had already grown huge. In the slanted light, it was a gloomy smear against the autumn sky. The knight wondered what ancient treasures must be hidden inside such a hazard. A wizard or a king must have bewitched the very earth to keep his riches safe. The knight found a rusted axe and honed its edge beside a campfire, flinching at every howl and caw that came from within the thorns. He approached the hedge with a torch held high, and any nearby beasts fled from the flames, scattering into the shadows. The white roses put him at ease, and he approached with a sense of destiny. Carefully, he tested the stems of the hedge, slicing a single branch. The vines wrapped around him, thorns biting flesh, lifting him off the ground. He shrieked and shrieked, but the next village was much too far to hear his cries. The bush shook him twice, hard, and released him to the ground. The knight's wounds wept, and he dripped blood at the base of the hedge. As soon as he regained his breath, he fled back to the city he came from, eager to tell his story. 500 years ago, a hedge sat behind town. It ran mostly wild, poking any trespassers who happened near. In the spring, the bleak bush burst with pinks and yellows, and its flowers bloomed and took in sun. A gardener sought to tame the hedge, made vows to conceal any mysteries it protected. He was handy with a rake and knew where to prune, when to water. The hedge needed a little convincing and carved many long scratches through the gardener's thick work clothes. It became tame under his care, still a bit wicked if he trimmed the wrong leaf, prone to nicking a calf or elbow, but the gardener didn't mind. He brewed healing potions from the rose petals, and the hedge protected his children and animals from the wolves. He buried fish skeletons, bones, tea grounds, old fruit beneath its roots. He grafted new cuttings when parts of the hedge looked thin. But all things die, chickens, men, and rose bushes. The gardener's children went away to war, and they died too. The town emptied. The hedge would have been content to expire too, if the first night hadn't come, a torch clenched in his hand. 1,000 years ago, a woman lay on a threadbare blanket outside of her newly built cottage. She thought she would miss the city and all its daily distractions, but she loved the country. She planted a rose bush as a little piece of home. Her auntie had been in a rivalry with the neighbors and grew roses on the balcony to signal excellence, fastidiousness. The poor thing suffered in the claustrophobic shade of the neighboring building and never survived more than a season. Here in this small, sunny town, a rose could thrive. No one would be monitoring its progress. It would flourish freely. The plant became a bush and then a hedge. The woman tended to it daily. No matter how bent her back went over the years, no matter how hot the morning, she watered it religiously, cutting the spent golden flowers to encourage the hedge to grow. Until the day she died, she could be found singing to the branches every morning, "You're perfect. I love you. You needn't sprout a single flower." That's the first one. Okay, I will move on to the second one, which is published recently in Apparition. This many amazing other stories too, so pick up this issue if you feel so inclined. A proper vessel, a perfect house. The 10 villages gathered to witness Merrick's ascension, all 7 snaking roads to the central plinth pounded into mud and gravel. The downpour stopped last week, but the earth still absorbs months of rain, soft under hoof. Each village brings their most beautiful horses, their silky geldings, and spirited mares. Merrick wanders the camps and touches the many-colored coats, bay and chestnut and gray, all soft with diligent brushing. Everyone stares and salutes her in the traditional three-fingered way, an outdated formality reserved for solemn occasions. She returns the gesture as she passes, though it makes her grit her teeth. She has seen it too many times in the past year. First at Zara's funeral, then at Berriman's, and now at Mother's. The animus wants a particular girl, a perfect girl. It has never found her, so it settles for decent girls. It will rattle inside her ill-fitting casing for years before it wrenches all the pieces of her soul apart. It has been with their family for generations. A legend claims the animus gave them mystical powers in times of ancient war. Another claims it brought good fortune, fat vases of gold coins amidst the worst drought of the century. Yet another says there was no reason at all. The spirit just liked the shape of their great-great-great maternal grandmother and decided to try her on. Their fortunate mother held the spirit for 5 decades, long enough for them to become a pillar of the community, for Mother to continue the family line and see her girls to adulthood. Mother housed it well. She told her daughters all the necessary stories, all the necessary cautions, a proper vessel heeds. Don't burn your fingers when they cooked, for the animus does not like scars. Don't appear too eager when other young villagers winked, for the animus prefers his houses demure. Zara and Berriman were made to inherit, kind and pleasant girls who grew into kind and pleasant women. They tied their braids with crisp gold ribbons. They raced their horses adeptly, but always took second or third place, so not to seem greedy. Their virtue did not save them. The animus deflected off of Zara's very skin when she tried to receive it. She slumped to the ground as if struck by lightning and never woke up again. When Berriman was called to inherit, she sank into sadness and then into the bottle. The alcohol pressed the spirit out of her, but it pressed hers out too. She only held the animus for 4 moons before she had to give it back to Mother, and she faded away soon after. Merrick was comfortable in her role as the feral little sister who would teach her elder sisters patience. Her hair is always in tangles, and she always wins first place no matter who else is racing. She was not meant to be the spare. Merrick stands before the family plinth and her mother's fresh grave. It is a neat pill of brown dirt between grandmother and Merrick's sisters and will flatten against the earth in time. Looking at the graves is better than looking at the plinth, which Merrick and her horse will be chained to by 2 padded cuffs. They are similar to the cuffs the villagers use to hobble uncooperative horses, but bright red, only meant to be used once. They look all the more menacing with their crisp gold stitching. The chain they link to is carefully perpendicular to the edge of the crowd underneath the new saddle. It is a racing saddle, sleek and smelling of fresh-pressed oils, which shimmer against the leather like sweat under sunshine. A lupine creature is embossed on the seat. It exhales a cloud with curling edges. Small embroidered figures flee from its breath. Beside the saddle is a black urn. The void-like glaze is webbed with hundreds of hairline cracks. When Mother first started dying, she pulled it down from its shelf in the kitchen, handing it to Merrick before going to bed for the last time. Mother always liked the reminder of Zara and Berriman's devotion and the family's responsibility. She often touched it fondly while she stirred the stew. Merrick always feared the urn, even before she knew what it was for. It cast a constant pall of death over the house. Then she saw the animus's mist swirl out of Zara's mouth and curl up inside of it, waiting to inhabit its next host. Today it seems to breathe, an occasional line of light pulsing where the lid meets the pot. A friend, Eva, approaches the plinth. Eva is the only other girl Merrick's age in the village. As they grow older, she loses patience for Merrick's outbursts and half-feral pets. Pretending at war with sharp sticks begins to feel more like a tiresome duel. Eva would prefer to rub berries into her cheeks and build wells, as is appropriate for a girl almost 20. The crowd parts and Eva faces Merrick's horse, Moon. Moon's sour temperament is legend throughout the 10 villages. She is a mean and scabby little dun, but she is brave, unafraid of the wolves that nip at the flocks. She often chases them off before the dogs can stir. Merrick saddles Moon, relieved to have something to do. She swings into the seat and Moon dances slightly to the right, nickering and eyeing the crowd. The padded cuff is an angry red mouth in Eva's hand, set to engulf Merrick's wrist. Eva will buckle it tight enough to crease flesh. Mother instructed Merrick on how to bear the animus with a smooth, motionless grace. She should not need the cuff, but more stalwart girls than Merrick have run from the animus. The chain is scar tissue for every fleeing ancestor of the centuries, every self-preserving girl who fled from the light within the urn. Eva approaches, clutching the cuff to her chest. Moon pins back her ears. The mare has bitten nearly everyone once or twice, but Eva stops short. She was only 8 when Moon first clamped wide teeth around her arm, bruising her for weeks. Eva wishes another girl could cuff Merrick, but she is the only one of age, and the 10 villages are watching. She fears the shame worse than Moon. While Eva hesitates, Merrick shivers. Her pulse floods her ears until she hears nothing else. Zara would have likely focused on the pleasant temperature of the day, the smiling faces of her sisters, the warm presence of their ancestors. She always focused on such things in times of distress, when her seedlings didn't sprout, when her beloved married a taller girl, or when she broke her ankle running from a wild boar. Zara was the lucky one. She never witnessed their family's failure. Merrick runs furious into the blackberry thickets if she so much as burns her bread. She lacks Zara's grace. When the spirit climbs into her soul, she will surely shatter. All of these eyes will watch the animus chew her to pieces, and she'll forever be the girl who is not enough. Her palms sweat, dampening the reins. Moon breathes beneath her, warm against her inner calves, oblivious and impatient. The villagers wear their best tunics and newest hats, embroideries still stark and clean. Someone is cooking nearby for the celebration that will follow. The smell of garlic and caramelizing sugar would normally entice Merrick, but her stomach turns at the thought of food. The black urn rattles, threatening to topple like a boiling pot. Its thin ceramic and ancient magic only hold the animus for a half a day, and time is running short. The reins slide through Merrick's fingers, now slippery. She tries to get a better grip on them, pushes her heels down so hard her muscles ache, focuses on the villagers' cheerful expressions. She wonders what Mother would say and looks for signs from beyond the pale, a reassurance that this is happening as it should. No signs appear. The clouds moved unhurried. Merrick's hands keep shaking. The glow from the urn brightens, hungry to chill the spark inside of her. Eva approaches with the cuff, drums up her courage, just as Merrick loses hers. Run, she tells Moon. Moon is happy to oblige, and the crowd parts before she can clamp her teeth on anyone. She kicks out her back legs. Merrick lurches forward, yelping, her face slamming hard into Moon's neck. Her nose throbs as she twines cold fingers into Moon's mane. A jolt runs up Merrick's spine as Moon careens into a gallop. On another day, the wind would thrill Merrick, taking her breath away as she sped across the plains. Today, it is sharp, even for her, and she squints through tears. Her breath catches, so she rides gasping, with her mouth open, the hollows of her cheeks dry. People call her name. It rolls across the plains, too slow to draw her back. Merrick's legs burn. The saddle is stiff, ceremonial, not molded to her and Moon. She is lifted enough from the seat to see its metallic threads twinkle menacingly, flashing as her flying coattails block the light. Merrick expects to hear the thunder of pursuit. Instead, she hears a noise resembling the clap of a leather strap. She pulls Moon up and turns to look, pulse racing. She thinks it's dry lightning before it grows into a black cloud, stuttering out of the urn, a miasma that seems to expand and retreat as if confused by linear time. Its edges glow acid green and begin to solidify. 2 legs descend from the 3-story mass, and then 2 more, and suddenly the spirit has a front and a back. Its great wolfish head forms last. It turns 2 green eyes towards Merrick. In its wake, the crowd scatters and shrieks, most rushing to their own horses. Moon doesn't wait for Merrick to come to her senses. The little mare rears, nearly unseating Merrick. She bolts the rest of the road, past the central village, into the mountains. First, the horses grow lanky and skeletal, and then the fields wither. None of the crop comes to head with its typical glimmering grain. The smart villagers move away, and their mounts plump up instantly, as if reinflated. The stubborn clans learn to grow potatoes and sunchokes. The sunflowers rise slowly, with black petals and a rasping dryness. Their horses lounge in fields and stables and lie around like fur coats crumpled atop piles of legs. Word spreads through all 10 villages that Merrick fled the altar, so the villagers lock their doors when they see her. They perch in their front windows to glare at her, eager to witness her humiliation, but fearful she is cursed. Since she will not apologize or beg, they click their teeth and retreat back into the dark of their homes. Merrick is reduced to digging black root vegetables from gardens, stealing obsidian-like eggs from chicken coops, making murky stews and ominous roasts over desolate campfires. Each night, Merrick closes her eyes and swears she will return to her ancestors' graves, chain herself to the plinth, and let the animus climb inside her. Every day she does not, the lands grow more monochrome. Some days she feels going back is the only way to restore what fades. Others, it seems pointless to return, already too late. She cannot imagine that it will get worse. But she wakes up each morning and things are worse. There is not a dot of green in the entire 10 villages. The birds cease to sing, even the wolf packs and deer move on to more fertile ground. And then it has been 2 years. She has ridden far enough that no one recognizes her. Moon resists the wasting admirably. She kicks the air to drive it off, chomps the dark grass furiously, though it contains little to fatten her body. When she finally withers away, no longer strong enough to huff an angry breath, Merrick is leagues and leagues from the crossroads, and the plinth seems like a distant nightmare. Merrick buries Moon. Without the spirited mare, there is no real evidence that she was ever supposed to house the animus at all. Merrick supposes she might go back on foot, and then she meets a man. He entertains himself by growing all sorts of dark flowers in the inhospitable dirt. He does not find them ugly. He is not distraught that the very earth of his home turns sweet sprouts into soot-black stubble. He is broad, handsome, and almost always smiling. Merrick decides she will stay until they tire of each other, and then she will go home. Instead, they have one child, then two, then three, a girl and two boys who are ever covered in mud and scrapes. Merrick cannot bring herself to caution demureness, or keep them from thorns and puppy teeth. She is at a loss on how to properly instruct them without stern warnings, but they seem to grow regardless. The house is always filled with laughter. It expands over the years, little rooms shooting off a central hearth in lovely crooked ways. The family does not ask questions about where Merrick comes from. The husband learned quickly that the past made Merrick go silent, sent her out into the plains for hours. Thankfully for Merrick, there is little time to think of the plinth when there are seams to fix, soups to boil. On Merrick's 63rd birthday, it starts to rain. It pours, and the clan takes turns huddling around each other's hearths, gossiping and sewing. It has been nearly 50 years since it rained like this, they say. Perhaps the world will go green again after it all lets up. Merrick knows it will not. She thinks of the plinth, of the angry red cuff. She thinks of her mother and sisters, of their graves. She thinks of Moon's black headstone at the foot of a great pine tree, which she has never drummed up the courage to visit. Generations protest as Merrick packs her bags. Babies tug at her pant legs, her husband gives her pleading looks. She chooses an old gelding from the paddock, a sweet-natured roan with long, knobby legs, slow like the rest of the blighted horses. She kisses her husband, who insists that he'll go with her. This is the only idea the family hates more than Merrick leaving at all. While they argue about who will accompany their matriarch, Merrick gets on the gelding, and he changes before their very eyes. He becomes a sleek young hellion, snorting and stamping the earth. Merrick digs in her heels, and the gelding punches away from the village before anyone else can prepare a saddle. The family call to her. Their pleas roll across the plains, not enough to draw her back. The relentless pace quakes her bones, turns her muscles useless. She remembers that she used to ride any chance she got before her escape, and that grief saturates worse than rain. Speeding through the plains, she remembers how green the hills used to go in winters, and how the air felt electric with spring. The rain stops as she arrives. The plinth is larger than she remembers, worn smooth by decades of wind. All at once, her body gives out. Her elderly, comfortable exterior is now a poorhouse to her spirit, which remains as young and feral as when she fled. She barely swings her leg over the saddle before folding to the ground. The gelding seems exorcised of his foaming enthusiasm and bends down to lip the black grass. Merrick gathers the fibrous grass into fists. The little steps to continuing on suddenly seem insurmountable. She must first catch her breath, and then she must somehow stand, and then she must secure the horse. Footsteps rustle behind her. Merrick turns, and a man with acid green eyes smiles at her. He is beautiful in a haughty and frightening way, haloed in cold light that doesn't match the environment around him. He wears a black velvet coat with golden ribbons that twitch in the wind. Smoke trails out his nostrils. "You've finally come," he says. "I'm ready for you," Merrick says. He laughs. "What would I want with your used-up shell? It's already been lived in. There's nowhere to press a hair into. Besides, it is too late for you to fulfill the bargain. I have been free long enough. I never need rely on another girl again. Surely there is something I can offer. Surely you can turn the land green again. It makes me cringe that the best your ancestors could come up with is trapping me inside their young girls. Me, an infinite spirit, sharing a mortal coil with a child. Stuffed in like too many wads of cotton until it was on to the next one. I was your family's constant companion, a little curl of smoke, But now I am free, a thing all of my own. It's all thanks to you. Merrick staggers to her feet. What was I supposed to do? She asks. You would have eaten me up, burned me from the inside out. I am only a deity. It is not my place to give your ancestors the answers you couldn't find. Merrick grabs the gelding's reins, though she is afraid she will not be able to climb into the saddle. Where are you going? The wolf asks. Home. Have you really changed your mind? Do you really want me to claim you, claim your kin? Shall I follow? Perhaps you have a daughter or a niece to tempt me. Merrick's mother would have fought the animus, trapped it inside. She would have let the green mist shatter her bones and excise her spirit, even if just for a few years of plenty. Merrick spent her life keeping to herself, hiding in the crooked house with her family. She tended scraped knees, read books, learned folk songs, stoked thousands of fires. She didn't rise up as some leader, never learned good manners or how to please the other villagers. Merrick lifts herself into the saddle and does what she knows best. She digs in her heels and she runs. The wind buffets her face, and the silver hairs that have come loose whip her cheeks. Only the shame burns worse. Her neck is stiff, and she can only catch glances of the animus behind her. She waits for the green miasma, for the glowing eyes, but it remains a man. It watches her ride away. Merrick's ride back to her family lights every joint on fire. By the time the gelding stumbles onto the compound, Merrick is wheezing and feverish. Her family lowers her from the saddle with panicked cries, and they take her into the lovely crooked house. They sob when the healer tells them Merrick has pushed her body to the limits that she may not recover. They ask why Merrick left, where she went, and why she couldn't have just stayed at home. Merrick hovers between this world and next. She refuses to tell them. If she stays silent, her wolf can never find them. Merrick's oldest daughter, Zara, leaves the house to catch her breath, just for a moment to clear her head. Zara loves her mother fiercely, but over the years there have been signs. Sometimes she reaches for Merrick's hand to find the fingers curled stiff, as if permanently holding reins. On late fireside nights, her mother's face glints, irises neon-rimmed. Zara won't go far, just to a neighboring hill, to sit in the shade of an ancient tree. As she swishes up the slope, she sees a man. Though he is dressed in black, like everything else, he looks wrong in the shade of the forest. Too pale, too sharp. She blinks, and he is gone. Hello, she calls out, her heart rattling a quick beat. No one replies. Nothing moves. She gets the strange impression she will never see him again. It settles soft in her belly, but she looks for him anyway. Zara peers behind the trunk of the great tree, thumbing the rough bark. No one is there. She checks behind the mound of basalt, a monument with the carving of a rearing pony. There, behind the headstone, a green blade of grass emerges from a blanket of black pine needles. Thank you all.
That was lovely. Thank you, Anna. I have chills too. Someone in the chat just said they have chills. So do I. Daniel, we're just the luckiest people. To get to come here every week and have the privilege of hearing such wonderful, such different stories really shows us the true potential of what stories can be. And that shows us what humans can be. Thank you both.
Thank you for having us.
Come back anytime.
Yes. And thank you all for coming.
Yes, it's our pleasure. Well, Daniel and I will be back next week. And we'll have another two wonderful readers. So next week, our wonderful readers are Marie Brennan and Thomas Ha. I recommend checking storyhour2020.com the day of the reading, just in case there are any changes. If there are, we'll announce them there. And it's also a good place to learn about who's going to be reading next. You can go and you can look through the calendar, see what days you have to tell people you absolutely have to be able to watch Story Hour live. And if you can't, you can always click through and watch the videos later too. You can come back and watch all the story hours you've missed before. Watch this one as many times as you want. I plan to give it another couple. It's all there. Ash Huang, Joe Miles, thank you both so much for making this such a special story hour. Thank you to my co-host, Daniel Marcus, without whom there would be no story hours. And thank you, all of you joining us tonight, all of you joining us at the recording on Facebook sometime in the future. Because as long as you're here with us, we're all in the same story hour. Thank you. Good night.